If you want to learn how to create and sell your very first AI agent, you've come to the right place. So in this video, I'll walk through step by step how you can build and sell your very first AI agent as a complete beginner. And we'll also walk through the difference between an AI automation and AI agent, how to get started on N8N and build your very first agent without any technical skills, and then how to sell AI agents to small businesses. And I'll do it all in non-technical, plain English, because that's what friends are for. So let's jump into it. There's a lot of talk online right now about AI agents, but what I found is that a lot of the AI agents people are talking about are just automated workflows. So I briefly want to touch on exactly what the difference between an automation workflow is versus an AI agent so that we can really understand exactly what an AI agent is. So when we look here, an automation workflow is essentially an input that goes to a task or a series of tasks that have a predefined output. So an automation is going to take an input or a trigger. It's going to follow the instructions or tasks or basically what the workflow tells it to do. And then it's going to use external tools to execute those and basically give an output. So in this example right here, let's pretend that a business has a new lead that comes in and it triggers an automation workflow. So the input is a brand new lead that's submitted through a website. That automation then takes that new lead, writes an email response, and then they can send an email with a tool, which is Gmail. Automation workflows can include AI. So in this example where it writes the email response, you'd probably have an LLM in there like ChatGPT that's actually going to write that text response. And then you have a tool that's going to actually send that. But workflows are sort of like sophisticated if-then statements. So if there's a new lead, then it will write an email response and then it will send that email. They don't really think, they just execute on what they're told to do. Here's an example of an actual automation workflow. So every day on a specific timer, this automation is going to go to Google Calendar. It's going to grab all of the events. It's going to format them in a date and time, and then it's going to send a Slack message with all of the Google Calendar events for that day. So really, there's no thinking here. It's just a set of instructions of when you get this, do this. Now, they can get really complicated, right? So you can have a ton of different nodes basically saying like, if this happens, then do this. If this doesn't happen, then do this. However, they're different from an AI agent because there is no sort of reasoning or thinking involved with the task. Now, if we go down to AI agents, the best way to describe what an AI agent is it's essentially an AI employee. So with an AI agent, it's similar to a workflow to where you have an input or a trigger that sets off the AI agent. But the big difference is that an AI agent is made up of three components. So the first one here is going to be a brain or typically a large language model. So this is going to be ChatGPT, Claude, Google. One of the LLMs that you're probably familiar with is going to be the brain. So this is actually going to do the reasoning, the thinking. It's going to ingest the information that you gave it, and then it's going to make decisions or give outputs based on what it was given. Next, we have the memory. So this is like, if you had an employee, they're going to remember the time that a client reached out 2 months ago, or they're going to remember the SOPs, or they're going to remember your name, right? So along with being able to think, they can also remember things that have happened or that they've been told. We'll walk through this in the actual example of the different databases that we can actually use within N8N. But the third aspect of an AI agent is the tools or the applications that you're giving it access to actually execute the instructions you've given it. So in this example, we could give it access to Gmail so that it can read our emails, it can write our emails, it can send emails. We could also give it access to Slack so it can read messages, it could send messages. In the example above here where we'd send a Slack message, this is similar. So the AI agent has access to your Gmail and Slack so that it can actually perform tasks using your tools. And then you have an output where that's just going to typically be like a confirmation of something being done. So what is an AI agent? An AI agent starts with an input. It can then think using the brain and make decisions. It can then recall past information that has been given with the memory, and then it can actually complete tasks on your behalf using the tools that you give it access to. So here is an example. So let's say I send a Slack saying, hey, send an email to Nick about grabbing lunch tomorrow at Panera Bread. The AI agent has its SOPs and instructions. So basically we would tell the AI agent, hey, you are Nick's personal assistant or virtual assistant that's going to help with scheduling all of his meetings. So you have access to a brain here, which is going to be an OpenAI chat model. You also have access to memory so that you can remember everything that Nick's told you before and all of his past clients. And then you also have access to his Gmail so that you're able to send emails on his behalf. And then you also have access to the Slack channel to where you can say, hey, just sent out the email just confirming that it was sent, just like an employee would do. Now let's jump into how you can actually build an AI agent using N8N. N8N is an extremely powerful AI workflow automation platform and allows us to build AI agents very simply without any technical knowledge. However, when you sign up for N8N, and you go to their monthly plans, it starts at $24 per month, and that's only at 2,500 workflow executions per month. It'll then upgrade you to $60 per month, which basically what I'm saying here is it can get really expensive really quickly. But lucky for us, N8N allows you to actually self-host yourself, so you don't have to actually buy a plan through them. You can use the platform when you self-host it either on your own computer or through a virtual server. And the best way that I've found to actually use N8N is through a virtual server, and the best plan that I found is through Hostinger. So if you go to hostinger.com/Nick. My friends over at Hostinger have agreed to give anybody watching this video an additional 10% off their already insanely low prices. All you have to do is go to hostinger.com/Nick and then use coupon code Nick, that's NIC, at checkout for an additional 10% off. And I recommend the KVM2 plan. This is what I personally use, and I found that it has basically everything that you'll need to get started as well as scale up. So if you want to start selling agents and workflows to local businesses or even use them in your own business, this is the plan that works perfectly, especially for getting started. Has 2 virtual CPU cores, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 100 gigabytes of disk space, and 8 terabytes of bandwidth. So that's all you'll need to get started, and will also allow you to scale up. If you go past that, you can always upgrade to one of the higher plans, but this is the plan that I recommend getting started on. Gives you the best bang for your buck, honestly. So we're gonna go ahead and choose this plan, and I'll walk you through how you can get N8N set up on your own virtual server. So let's choose this plan. And now from the cart page, I'm gonna go ahead and leave this on 24 months so we can grab that $6.99 per month. Input coupon code NIC, apply, and that's gonna give us an additional 10% off. So we'll save almost 20 bucks there. And then you're going to choose your server location. This is just going to be whatever is closest to you. Since I'm in the US, I'm going to select the United States. It has the best latency. Basically, you just want your server located as close as possible to you, so there's not as much distance, so you get the best latency. From here, we're going to select N8N so we can set up our N8N server. This is going to make it super easy. Basically, once we log in, N8N is going to be ready for us. And then we're going to click continue. And now once you've gotten through checkout and created your Hostinger account, you'll now be able to access your Hostinger dashboard here. And from this dashboard, you should be able to see your new VPS that you just purchased here. If not, you can jump over to the VPS section right here, and you'll be able to see your apps. Now, I believe when you see this, you'll need to launch yours. I already have mine running, so I'll just go ahead and click here and say manage app, and that will take me over to N8N. And this is where we're gonna actually create our first AI agent. So go ahead and click create workflow, and now we have a completely blank template. So the first part of creating an AI agent, as we know, is creating that input, or also typically referred to as a trigger. So going back to our AI agent diagram, we're going to have the input, that's going to send it to the AI agent, and then we're going to have the output. But the input needs to be a trigger to actually set off the AI agent. So we're going to add our first step here, which is going to be our trigger. Now, the easiest trigger to set off is actually just a chat module directly in N8N, right here where it says chat trigger. But I think that's a lazy way of doing it, because I don't want to actually chat with this within N8N. I don't want to have to pull up N8N to use the AI agent. I live in Slack like a lot of people I think do. So we're going to go ahead and set up the Slack integration here. So we want to set up for on new message posted to a channel. So anytime we post a new message to a Slack channel, that's going to trigger this AI agent. And now I'm going to walk through how to connect Slack to N8N. So if you've already done this, or if you just want to use the direct chat function within N8N, you could go ahead and skip this part. I'll leave chapters below, but let's dive into actually how to set up Slack with N8N. And I have a handy cheat sheet here. I'll go ahead and leave this cheat sheet in the description as well so you can access this. The first step here is to add a new app. Now you can start here, or you could actually go over to your Slack, and at the bottom here you can see where you can add apps. So go ahead and click on that, browse all app types, and then we can go ahead and click build from here. So from here you'll just click create new app. We're going to start one from scratch, and then we're going to say N8N testing 1, 2, 3. Select workspace. That's going to be the workspace you want to add it to, and then create app. Awesome. So we have our app created here. Let's go back over to our handy cheat sheet. So we're going to create the new app from scratch, name and workspace, go to OAuth and permissions, bot token scopes, and then use these scopes. So back over to our app, and this is where we're going to find OAuth and permissions. So from here, we're going to scroll down and find bot token scopes. And this is where you're going to add the scopes. So basically the permissions that this bot has that it's able to do within your channel. So can it read messages, write messages, delete messages? This is where you're going to add all of those scopes. So from here, I actually have this link to all of the scopes that N8N recommends that you add. So here's the list. I'm just going to go ahead and add all of these, and I'll go ahead and fast forward this because it's a bit boring. Okay, so I just got done adding all of those scopes. Now we can scroll up and say install to the follow-up, which is my workspace I'll be using for this app. So go ahead and allow. And now we can jump back over to N8N, and I already have a Slack account created. You won't have one yet, so you'll go ahead and click on create new credentials, and this is where we need to add the access token. So back over to Slack, this is the OAuth token. We can go ahead and copy that, paste it in here, click save, and success. So we're good to go there. We officially now have the pre-steps of connecting it to Slack. So jumping back over to our handy sheet here, we're taking that OAuth token back to N8N, add as a new token. We just did that. So we're going to create a new Slack channel for this bot. So now I am here in the Slack workspace that I just set up the app for. I'm going to go ahead and add channel, create new channel. Let's just name it N8N testing 1, 2, 3 and create. From here, we'll go ahead and call out our app. So N8N testing 1, 2, 3, that's the app we just made. We'll go ahead and create a message with that app in the channel. And then you should get this message, basically Slackbot saying, this app is not in this channel yet, so do you want to add them? We'll go ahead and click add them. So now we have our app in our channel that we're able to communicate with. Let's jump back over to our cheat sheet. So we invited the app to the Slack channel, back to N8N, and let's grab the webhook. So on this page, we can now see the channels to watch. We can see that it's in the N8N agent testing. We're going to jump up here to webhook URL. So it's just a drop down here. Go ahead and copy that. And then from there, we're going to go back over to the Slack API dashboard, jump down to event subscription. So it's right under OAuth and permissions. As you can see here, it's turned off right now. So we want to turn it on, and then we are going to request URL. So we're going to add that webhook URL. You can see we get an error. That's okay. Don't worry about it. We're going to subscribe to bot events, and then we're going to add bot user events here. So this is where we want to add what the app is actually going to look for. So this app, we want to look for messages being sent in the channel. So you can find a message was posted to the channel. We'll go ahead and add that, and we're all set here. Now, the next step is to actually enable our N8N workflow. So go ahead and click execute step. We'll jump back over to Slack, and we will send a message. Hey, send an email to nick@mail.com saying, hey. Let's go ahead and click send on that. And if we jump back over to the dashboard here and click retry, we can now see that it's verified. So from this part, you need to make sure to hit save changes. If you don't save changes here, this won't work. So as you can see, we turned on workflow, sent a message, subscribed to bot events, all set. And let's get started actually building our AI agent. Now, the reason that I wanted to use Slack is because the AI agent that I want to build today is basically a personal assistant. So I'm going to pretend like I'm a real estate agent and I have appointments that I need to book all the time. And I don't want to actually go into my email, find the person's email address, email them myself. What if I had an AI virtual assistant to where I could basically type in a Slack channel or even use speech to text in a Slack channel and say, hey, email Nick for our appointment next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Tell them that we're all good for the showing. Meet me at 123 Park Avenue and send that out. And then let me know once you've sent it out because I want to confirm that everything's been done correctly. So that's basically the AI agent that we're going to build today. And that's why we set up the Slack trigger so that you can basically talk to it through Slack. And now the next step is to actually add the AI agent here. So we have our trigger set up. We'll go ahead and search for AI agent and click on that. So here we go. This is our AI agent, and we'll come back to this in a second. But if we click back to Canvas, we can now see our AI agent. So we can see the chat model connection, the memory, the tool, and then the output here. And this is what we're going to work on now. So the first step to the AI agent is adding the chat module. So this is going to be the actual brain of our AI agent. Think of this like the LLM that's actually going to reason and make decisions like an actual human brain. So for this, I just like to use ChatGPT, so you can go ahead and find OpenAI chat model. I already have it connected to my OpenAI account. If you don't already have your OpenAI key plugged into N8N, you can jump over to openai.com/API and you can sign up for an account and grab an API key. You will have to pay for this. So basically accessing the API and sending calls out to the API to use the LLM models, you will have to pay for, but it's pretty cheap. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. From here, you can select your model. So I'm going with a mini model. Obviously, like the more advanced models are going to be better, but they're also going to cost more. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this on the mini model for now, and that's going to be all set. So now we have our brain attached. Next, we can add our memory. So this is like the recall of a person, right? So you give them the brain, but they also need memory to recall what they've been trained, past clients they've talked to, things you told them in the past. This is what they're going to use to actually make decisions with their brain. So go ahead and select simple memory here. There's a few different memories or databases that you can add. Simple memory is just the easiest to get started with because it's basically N8N's native memory. The context window, I like to leave it on 5, but context window is basically just like the amount of messages that it's going to remember. So it's going to remember our last 5 interactions. You could change this to 50, you could change it to 100. I think 5 is fine for this, so let's go ahead and leave it on 5. The session ID, this is basically just it giving itself a code of like, this is like the timestamp of this session. So think of this as like a code saying like, hey, this is chat 001, this is chat 002. So for this, go ahead and leave it on connected chat trigger node for now. We're going to come back to this and actually change it to something custom once we send a test message. But now we have this all set up. Okay, so we have our memory, we have our brain. Next, we need to add our tool, right? So we can give instructions to this AI model. It's going to use the LLM to think about what we're saying and how it should actually take those instructions and execute on them. It has its memory so that it knows how to recall all the past things we've said to it and how to handle certain situations. Now we need to actually give it access to tools so it can execute what we tell it to do. In the example that I mentioned earlier, I want to give it access to Gmail so that I can tell it to actually send emails on my behalf. Now let's go ahead and find Gmail tool here. And now we're going to have to set this up. So I already have it set up. We're going to go ahead and create new credentials so I can walk you through how you can set this up in about 2 minutes. If you already have this set up or if you want to give it a different tool, go ahead and fast forward through here. But this is where we're actually going to set up Gmail so we can actually send emails on our behalf. So let's create new credentials. And I have also created a cheat sheet for connecting N8N to Google. So the first step here is to go to console.cloud.google.com. Again, I'll leave this cheat sheet in the description so you can just go off of this. Now from this dashboard, you'll see your projects up here, and let's go ahead and create a new project. So let's say N8N testing 1, 2, 3, and leave it in your organization and location, and let's go ahead and create. From here, you can select that project. So now you can see N8N testing 1, 2, 3. We are in our project. And the next step is to actually find the Gmail API. So let's find Gmail API. And from here, we'll go ahead and enable it. Perfect. So the Gmail API is now enabled and we can start working on it. So let's jump back over to our cheat sheet. So once we've turned on the API and services, OAuth overview, get started, audience equals external. So what I mean by that is we will go to the OAuth consent screen. We'll go ahead and select get started. App name, let's just again do N8N testing 1, 2, 3. Support email, you should only have one email here. It's your Gmail account. Let's go ahead and click next. Audience, we will set to external like I had in the cheat sheet. Click next. Contact information, go ahead and just set this as your normal email. Click next, and then we can go ahead and say finish and continue. Awesome, so we're all set here. The next step before we actually create our OAuth client, we're gonna jump over to audience and leave all of this alone except test users. So let's go ahead and add ourselves as a test user on this. Click save on that. Perfect. Now let's jump back over to overview. And this is where we're going to create our OAuth client. So go ahead and click on that. Application type is going to be a web application. Name, again, we could do something like N8N testing 1, 2, 3. And then the last thing we need to do here is add our authorized redirect URL. And this is where we're going to jump back to N8N, and this is what we need to grab. So our OAuth redirect URL. Copy that, jump back over here and input it. Create, and here it's going to give us our client ID. So go ahead and copy that, jump back over to N8N, client ID, drop that in there, and then we can select OK here. And then from here, you can click on the hyperlink right here. And this is going to also give us our client secret. So go ahead and copy that back over to N8N, drop it right here. And now it's going to give you the option to sign in with Google. So you'll sign into your Gmail account from here, and we're all set to go. Perfect. So now that you have your Gmail account connected, it should look something like this. And as you can see, resources, message, operation, we're giving it the ability to send messages on our behalf. The to section is the email that we're giving it authorization to send to. But since this is going to be different and we actually want this AI agent to be able to pull out the email from the message we send it, we're going to go ahead and click let the model define this parameter. So if we send it a long message saying like, hey, what's going on, AI agent? Please send an email to this email and say something like this. We're not predefining exactly where the email is going to be at. It's somewhere in the message, and we basically want our AI agent to be able to pull out that email from the message and make that decision itself. From the subject, we'll go ahead and say the same thing so it can come up with a subject. Email type, let's leave that as HTML. And message, we want to let the model define this parameter as well because it's going to actually create the message for us. Select that, and now we're all set. Okay, so we have our AI agent all set up here. So we have our Slack trigger that starts the AI agent and gives it the information that it needs. We then have OpenAI connected as our brain. We have our simple memory to be able to recall. And then we have our tool, which is Gmail, to be able to send emails. Now from here, you could also add a bunch of other tools. So let's say you wanted to add HubSpot so that they could log that new lead into a CRM, or you could give them access to your calendar so they could check if you have any other events scheduled at the time you're trying to book something. Really, the options are limitless. But there's a few other things we need to add to this AI agent to make sure that it works correctly. The first thing that I want to do is go ahead and send a test message to see where things land. So let's go ahead and say execute workflow. Let's jump over to our Slack channel, and then let's just send it a test message. So let's say, hey, send an email to nick@mail.com saying, hey. Send that in there. Let's jump back over to N8N. As you can see, the Slack trigger was executed and triggered, but we had some issues with our AI agent. So we can look in the logs here and go ahead and look for all the information that was sent over. We can see the error right here was that there's no session ID found. So this is essentially the ID or like the code that it's going to put on every message that you send it. So we need to make sure that we actually have a session ID when this comes in. So we can go ahead and open this up. Source for prompt, we're going to change this over to define below. And this is going to be the prompt or the message that we're sending over to our AI agent. So we can look in our schema here and find the text. This was the message we just sent it. Hey, send an email to nick@mail.com. We'll go ahead and copy or drag this text over to prompt right here. And that's just going to make it so that anytime we send a message, that is what the AI agent is going to go off of. The last step here is that our simple memory needs essentially a ID to go off of, or a session ID. So the session ID, we're going to drop that down and say define below. And if we look in here, there's a client message ID. We'll go ahead and drag that over to this key right here. And so that's going to be the code that it uses for each session to basically keep track of when these messages come in and associate that with a code. Now that we have all of those errors fixed, let's go ahead and try this again. So let's go ahead and say execute workflow. Jump back over to Slack, and let's put in a little bit more of a complicated message this time. So let's say, can you please send an email to Nick Zonley at nick@wisemedia.co. Tell him we're confirmed for tomorrow, this showing at this address at 10 a.m. I look forward to seeing him there. Let's click send. Jump back over to our workflow, and as we can see, workflow executed successfully. Okay, so this says that it sent a message to Gmail. I'm going to pull up my Gmail, and let's see what it did. And here we go. There it is. From my email, we're confirmed for the showing at 1-2 Houseway tomorrow at 10 a.m. I look forward to seeing you there. This email was sent to you automatically with N8N. So that's good, but it's not as good as it can get. So let's jump back over to our AI agent. And the one thing that we haven't done yet is actually give it instructions. So when you think about this like an AI employee, you need to actually give an employee SOPs and instructions to correctly do their job. So if we pull up the AI agent here, we can add option and then system message. So by default, it's going to say you are a helpful assistant, but we can get a lot more granular with this. So this is where we're going to basically give it instructions of saying like, hey, you are my VA and I'm a real estate agent, but because AI is best at training AI, we're going to jump over to ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is great at actually writing the system prompts for these N8N AI agents, and this is the prompt that I'm going to go with. Please write a system message for my N8N AI agent. This is my personal AI agent. My name is Nick Conley, and I'm a real estate agent who needs to quickly send emails to clients about showings. The agent is triggered when I send a Slack message with instructions on who to send an email to and what to tell them. The AI agent will take the instructions, write an email based on what it already knows about me, and then use Gmail to send the email. After it sends the message, it will finish by sending a Slack message confirming the email was sent. Please also make sure that the emails the agent sends are written strictly in HTML with proper HTML markup. That last sentence is really important. I don't see a lot of people doing this, and because this AI agent basically just like puts it all out there, it usually doesn't write in HTML, which means like there's not going to be spaces in between the different sentences. So I really like to make sure that it's actually using HTML markup to make sure that we have correct spacing. Once we feel good there, let's go ahead and click send. Perfect. And so it just gave us the system message. Let's go ahead and copy all of this, jump back over to N8N, and then we will just input our system message here. Now our AI agent is actually trained on what we want it to do. And the last step that we want to add here is that confirmation message once it's actually done. So we want to add a Slack message. We're going to say send a message. And here's where we can prompt it to tell us when it's actually executed or sent the email. So message operation is send message to channel. We'll select our channel here. And what is the message going to say? Let's just say all done, boss. And we should be good to go. So now let's go back to our Slack. And I wrote a new message. So it's going to say, can you please send an email to Nick Zonley at nick@wisemedia.co. Tell him we're confirmed for the showing at 5465 Houseway tomorrow at 10 a.m. I look forward to seeing him there. Back over to N8N, execute workflow so that it's watching for the message. Go ahead and click send, jump back over, and boom. If that all worked correctly, we now have a message from our AI agent saying, hey, all done, boss. And now let's check Gmail. Check it out. Showing confirmation at 5465 Houseway. Hi, Nick Zonley. We are confirmed for the showing at 546 Houseway tomorrow at 10 a.m. I look forward to seeing you there. Best regards, real estate agent. We got the spacing right, and this actually looks like a good email. We now have our very own custom AI agent that's working for us. This is essentially like having a virtual assistant, except you don't have to pay it and it works 24/7 and you can talk to it however you want. And now that I've showed you how to build your very first AI agent as a beginner with N8N, I want to talk about agents that you could actually sell to businesses. So obviously something like this, I totally think you could sell this to a business because it's basically like a virtual assistant who takes care of admin work like scheduling meetings for someone. But I didn't want to stop there, so I'm giving you 3 ideas of AI agents you could go out and build with N8N, very similar to how we just built that AI agent, and agents that businesses would pay for right now. So the first agent we have here is the inbound sales rep agent. So this is basically mimicking what an inbound sales rep would do. So the first input here is going to be a new lead. So let's say a new lead submits their information via a contact form on someone's website. The AI agent's job is to watch for inbound leads. Once they receive one, they'll research that lead, score them based on the likelihood of them becoming a customer, add that lead to the CRM, and then draft a personalized email to that lead. So the brain is going to be ChatGPT. Memory or database, you could use Supabase or just the simple memory in N8N. Tools and applications, we can give it access to Gmail to actually send the email, Slack so that it can let us know what it's doing, HubSpot so we can actually log that new lead in the CRM, and then LinkedIn to do all the research on that lead. The output is it'll send us a message saying that was added to the CRM, and here's a link to the CRM with this contact that will also have the email that I just sent to it. Replacing an entire sales rep, you can't tell me businesses would not pay for that. All right, now this next AI agent I have is what I like to call the missed call saver agent. So this agent is going to help out businesses that often miss calls and miss out on customers because of it. So the input here is going to be a missed call, and that's what's going to trigger this AI agent. So this AI agent's job is when a call is missed, your job is to follow up with the caller via text until you've answered all of their questions and or appointment is scheduled. You will watch for our missed calls, text that caller, use our SOPs and FAQs to answer their questions, and schedule an appointment. And if you can't find an answer to the question, you'll escalate it to a human. So in this example, let's pretend like we have a lawn care company and they're out on the job, so they missed a call. When that missed call comes in, the AI agent is going to pick up on it. It's going to send them a message and say, hey, sorry, we missed your call, and is going to try to conversate with that customer to either get an appointment scheduled or answer any questions that they might have had, or escalate to a human if the AI agent can't handle it. So it's going to use the brain to actually reason and think about, what it needs to answer or the questions it needs to answer for the customer. We're going to give it access to HubSpot for our CRM, Twilio so it can actually text the callers, and then Calendly so it could actually book appointments. The output there would be a booked meeting confirmation or escalating it to an actual human if it can't do it itself. Now, the last one, which might be my favorite agent, is the invoice chaser agent. So if you're a small business or a freelancer, you probably know what it's like to send invoices and have to chase them down to actually get paid. So what this looks like is you did work for someone, you send them over an invoice, and guess what? They don't pay it right away. Then it gets buried in their email inbox. They're not super excited to pay it, so it just gets left there. You have to follow up with email after email or text message to try to get it paid. But what if you didn't have to do that work or hire someone to do it? What if you could have your very own AI agent do it? So the input here would be an overdue invoice. The AI agent's job would be to monitor for overdue invoices in QuickBooks or Stripe. When an invoice is more than 2 days overdue, you'll send the client a reminder email of their overdue invoice. You'll continue to send them a reminder every 3 days following up after the first reminder. Each reminder will sound more urgent and aggressive. So basically this AI agent is going to monitor all of your invoices that have been sent out. When they're overdue, it's going to automatically follow up with that customer until they get it paid. So we'll give this AI agent access to our Gmail to be able to send follow-up emails. We'll give it access to our Slack to be able to tell us what's going on. HubSpot, so they can actually access that customer in our CRM or whatever CRM we use. And then Stripe or QuickBooks, whatever someone uses to actually send invoices. The actual output here would be an invoice that is paid. Tell me a business would not love this. Just implement this in your business, and all of a sudden you're going to have way less overdue invoices, more money coming in, and cash flow is so important for small businesses. This solves a massive problem. So I hope you enjoyed these ideas. I hope all the ideas are just flowing right now. There's so much cool stuff to build with AI agents right now. There's so many businesses that could use AI agents, and there's so much money to be made from AI agents. So if you're going to sell one of these agents, drop below which agent is your favorite, or if you have another agent idea, let me know what you're building. I want to hear from you. And as always, I appreciate you, and peace.